Welcome to Fintech Chatter News, presented by Tier 1 People, leaders in fintech executive search. Follow us on your favorite podcast player or Fintech Chatter TV on YouTube.
It's been a massive week for the Aussie Fintech industry. Intersekt 2022 was bigger and better than ever. 2 days of conversations, insights, friendships being formed and connections being made, along with lots of reunions, laughs, hugs, and of course the legendary parties. Out of the hundreds of conversations, I managed to record a few to share with you. I speak to a few fintech legends, as well as founders from the next wave of fintech startups. And I also chat with some of the unsung heroes behind the scenes. Here's a chat with the Superwoman of fintech, Simone Joyce. She's the CEO of Paypa Plane, self-proclaimed payments nerd, and Chair of Fintech Australia. Simone, lovely to see you.
Lovely to see you, Dexter, live and in the flesh.
Yeah, how's Intersekt been for you? Because we're on day 2 now.
I don't think I have enough words to describe the energy levels at Intersekt, and I've been very careful about managing mine because I want to talk to everyone at least once, but it has been just exceptional.
Yeah. Now, I was a little cautious about coming here because it's been tough for the industry. I mentioned before, it's kind of tinged with a little bit of sadness, and that there's people who aren't here who have left the industry or moved on. But I've got to say that the optimism and I think the level of energy and kind of commitment to the industry seems to be stronger than ever.
I would really agree with that, and I think that we are an industry that will be resilient because the services we're providing are ultimately for the good of people and businesses, and in times like we're facing more widely, that's a really important thing. And I think that even though we've seen some companies have some wobbles, and that's to be expected, and it's really unfortunate, and it is a bit sad, we've also got some companies that are more like lighthouses in a storm that are really forging ahead with their missions, and that's a really positive thing. But I think it's also important that we acknowledge the fact that we are going to see some tough times.
Yeah.
What can we do to minimise the impact on the individuals and the companies in the space, and how can we make sure that we're set up to support not only the growth of companies that are seeing growth, but the next stage for people who are adversely affected.
One thing that's really stood out to me for this Intersekt, which I think is the differentiator, isn't just the increase in attendees, but it's actually the interest that's come from large organizations who see actually the fintech ecosystem as customers and not just big 4 banks and financial institutions. What do you kind of put that down to? Is that like a clear sign now that this is a maturation of the industry here in Oz?
I think it's certainly that. It's saying that this industry is mature and ready to engage with the incumbents, and that we have a slightly different dynamic here in Australia. Our banks behave differently. They mean different things to people in Australia, and now as fintechs we can be a strong part of that banking scene. And obviously there's other companies, insurance companies, superannuation, etc. as well that fall into that category. I also think it goes to show that over the past few years we've seen a change in the demands of businesses and consumers of their banks. So that's also driving an engagement across the sector to go, well, look, we've got these gaps we now need to fill as a large incumbent organisation. Is it right for us to build? Is it right for us to buy? Or is it right for us actually to partner? And that's what we're seeing.
Now, I think a self-prescribed payments nerd, 2022 must have just been the dream year for you.
Oh. Well, let's wait till 2023. I reckon that's also going to be good. But yes, Pay 2 has certainly been a hot topic here this year, which I think it's actually pipped CDR at the post. There was a lot of CDR chat last year. We're seeing a lot of Pay 2, a lot of CBDC chat.
So the convergence of payments, Simone, we're starting to see digital currencies, DeFi, all of these kind of discussions start to happen in the same room. What's your sense as to why that's happening, and what do you think potentially we're looking at in the future?
Look, I think that there's a real alignment of people who are providing services on traditional payment rails today, Visa, MasterCard. We've got AP Plus with their amazing MPP rails and FPOS. If you strip away the actual exchange of value though and go, okay, well, what if that was a coin? What if we were doing it between exchanges and left all of the supporting services, the top layer services in place, then it becomes a really interesting conversation. It doesn't matter how the value is exchanged, but these are the rules under which we're going to exchange that value. So for us, that's a smart payment agreement. You agree that you're going to pay me $10 a week, whether that's direct debit today, pay to tomorrow, or a retail-based CBDC in the future. That's okay. The payment agreement itself remains unchanged.
And Paypa Plane, you've had a pretty cool 2022. What's your kind of coming away from Intersekt? What are your thoughts about 2023? And what do you see as the opportunities and maybe some of the challenges ahead for you?
I think the thing with running an early stage company is that you're only as good as your latest hit, and you have to keep going and you have to keep stepping it up, and that's what growth is all about. And so for us, 2023 will be another growth year, and it has to be. Otherwise, if you're not going forwards, you're going backwards. If you're standing still, you're going backwards. So I'm really looking forward to 2023, and what we've done this year is really laying the foundations for what happens next year.
Yeah. Now, your other role as Chair of Fintech Australia, you must be immensely proud of what's happened this last 2 days.
I am bursting with pride, not because I have had any hand in what's happened at Intersekt, but the team at Fintech Australia. They're a small team, but they have achieved something incredible here.
Yeah.
And it is not just an achievement of the things that you can, you see, and round tables are overbooked and the lunch is really good, but it's actually creating a space for conversations that I've participated in and have heard happening in between all of those structured things. And that's actually a very difficult thing to do. And it's a very difficult thing to do in a way that people continually want to engage in. So hats off to that team at Fintech Australia. They're amazing. Rehan, Lisa, Carlos, Stu, Harrison and Nick. Incredible. Yeah,
and look, importantly as well, I've been talking to quite a few of the UK delegates, and they're, I think, really impressed with what they've seen and really enjoyed the event. And it's something a bit different for them. And I think it's, what they've taken away is that Australia is not the UK. We're very, very different.
That's a good
in a good way. In a good way.
I'm really glad they're enjoying it and getting value out of it, because it's a very long way to come all the way from the UK. But it's been actually wonderful having that delegation here, because from initial conversation, you could have exchange both ways. You can have a company going to the UK from Australia and one coming to Australia from the UK.
And look, Fintech Australia is there to present Australian fintech in the very best light, and I think done that in spades this last 2 days. And
we're very grateful that you come every year, Dexter, because you're the life and soul.
I was described yesterday as the voice of fintech.
There you go, exactly.
Well, Simone, great to catch up, and have a safe trip back to Brisbane.
Thanks, Dexter.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed that chat, we've got plenty more for you from Intersekt. If you're new to the show, hit follow and please leave us a review. And if you're coming back, thanks so much for your support. It really does help us in promoting the Aussie Fintech industry globally. Fintech Chatter is presented by Tier 1 People, leaders in fintech executive search. We'll help you build a world-class fintech venture by connecting you to world-class talent. You can find out more at tier1people.com.